Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're literally transforming a super simple, budget-friendly cucumber and egg stir-fry into an absolute culinary masterpiece. I'm really excited about this one because we're going to look at how a few tiny tweaks, like proper ingredient prep, the secret to perfectly soft eggs, and nailing that high-heat technique can totally prevent mushy cucumbers and completely elevate your dish. If you've ever dealt with soggy veggies or rubbery eggs, well, you're definitely in the right place. So here's our agenda for today. We'll be looking at the ultimate budget meal, smart ingredient preparation, the soft egg secret, the high-heat cucumber stir-fry, and finally, bringing it all together. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The ultimate budget meal. Look, grocery prices are a bit crazy right now, right? So we all really need those fast, accessible meals that still actually taste good. But it brings up a really great question. How exactly do you keep the cucumbers crispy and the eggs perfectly fluffy using just one pan? A lot of us probably remember how our parents or grandparents made this. They just throw everything into the pan at once and, well, bless them, but it usually ended up with a pretty watery, mushy texture. And that right there is exactly the problem. Cooking water-heavy cucumbers and eggs at the exact same time is basically a recipe for mushy veggies and a weirdly fishy taste. The solution? It's all about sequence and heat. By cooking the elements separately and really utilizing high heat, you get total control over the final texture and flavor. Moving on to Section 2, Smart Ingredient Preparation. Honestly, getting your prep right is half the battle here. You want to have absolutely everything ready to go before you even touch the stove. First up, grab some tender young cucumbers. They just yield the best texture, and chop them into bite-sized pieces. Then, lightly beat 4 small eggs in a bowl, just enough to break up the yolks. And finally, coarsely pound a whole head of garlic. That coarse texture is exactly what gives you those incredible, golden, fragrant bits in the oil later on. Section 3, the soft egg secret. Now, this is probably the biggest takeaway from this entire explainer. Instead of dumping everything in together, you want to heat up your oil first and cook those lightly beaten eggs completely on their own. Pour them in and scramble them. But here's the real trick. Cook them just until they're barely done. You really want them to stay in these soft, fluffy chunks. And then immediately take them completely out of the pan and set them aside on a plate. Seriously, get them out of there. The science behind this is actually super fascinating. Cucumbers are basically packed with water. So if you leave the eggs in the pan when the cucumbers go in, all that moisture releases and your eggs effectively end up boiling in cucumber juice. Taking the eggs out ensures they never boil in that liquid, which protects their delicate fluffiness and completely stops any fishy flavor from developing. It is a total game changer. All right, Section 4, High-Heat Cucumber Stir-Fry. So, going back to your hot, empty pan, just add a little bit more oil. Drop in that coarsely pounded garlic we prepped and fry it up until it's perfectly golden and incredibly fragrant. Actually, a pro tip here, scoop out just a tiny pinch of that crispy garlic to use as a garnish at the very end. Once it's perfectly golden, confidently toss in your chopped cucumbers. For the seasoning, we're keeping it incredibly minimalist so the fresh ingredients really shine. We're talking just about 1 tablespoon of a standard seasoning sauce and roughly 2 teaspoons of sugar to perfectly balance out those savory notes. Now, if the pan feels like it's getting dangerously dry, you can add a tiny splash of plain water, but be super careful not to overdo it. Okay, here is the absolute secret to avoiding mushy cucumbers. You have got to turn up the heat. This rapid searing cooks the outside quickly while keeping that really satisfying crunch on the inside. If you try to slow cook this on low heat, the cucumbers will just bleed out all their moisture, and you're left with a sad pan of mush. Hot, fast, and confident is definitely the way to go here. Having said that, there's a really great little exception noted in our source material. If you happen to be cooking for elders at home who might need softer vegetables for easier eating, it is totally fine to drop the heat a bit and cook the cucumbers a little bit longer until they soften up. It's really all about making the dish work for whoever's sitting at your table. Section 5. Bringing it all together. Once your cucumbers are perfectly seasoned and cooked exactly how you like them, it's time to bring back those fluffy eggs we set aside earlier. Add them right back into the pan, but listen carefully. You only want to toss everything together 2 or 3 times quickly, just enough to coat the eggs slightly in the seasoning. If you keep frying them now, they'll just get tough and rubbery, and we definitely don't want that. And before you plate it up, remember this pro tip. Purposefully leave a little bit of that seasoned liquid in the pan. Don't cook it completely bone dry. That garlicky, savory liquid creates an incredible sauce that is absolutely perfect for mixing directly into a warm bowl of rice. It is pure comfort food. It's honestly amazing, isn't it? By simply managing your heat and reordering your steps, you can take the exact same ingredients that might normally turn into a mushy disappointment and elevate them into a spectacular, budget-friendly meal. No more mushy cucumbers! It really makes you wonder, though, if simply changing the order of operations can save a humble cucumber, what other basic household staples could you completely reinvent in your kitchen tonight? Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and happy cooking.